Good evening, and welcome to Eastern Region's third annual award celebration. My name is Lori Sherman, and I have the pleasure of serving as your Eastern Region Vice President. I'm so excited to be here to see senior students and special guests being honored for their amazing achievements. And because tonight is a night of celebration, we encourage you, especially the young people in attendance, to share memories of this evening on social media by using the hashtag Eastern PSEA. Sorry, thanks, Brian. Here at Eastern Region, we are like a family, and we try to promote a family atmosphere. Looking around the room, I see so many different kinds of family. I see my son Jack from my immediate family. I see my union family, Brian, Tim, Wayne, Lane, and Jenna. I see so many members of our Eastern Region family, and I see new families that I can't wait to meet and welcome as new members of an ever-growing union family. We understand the power that a family union has, and with the support of our family, we can accomplish anything we set out to do. Our Eastern Region family is blessed to have so many fantastic members who inspire students on a daily basis. But tonight, we will hear how so many of our members have inspired their own families through the speeches that their children will be given. These amazing students are at the beginning of a new journey to further their education in pursuit of their future career endeavors. We will continue our celebration by honoring two amazing women from our union family by recognizing the amazing work they are doing on a regular basis. Tonight's two awards recipients are always giving to others, and tonight it feels right to give them the recognition that they deserve. Tonight will be a combination of looking ahead to our promising future and celebrating the successes of current and past members who inspire young people. Who better to celebrate these accomplishments with than your family? It's now my pleasure to introduce our third representative, Tim Carney.
So people that know me know that my invocations are usually like little stories or something, little stories. So I just wanted to let you know that my wife and my daughter are walking in New York City this weekend to raise money for the 9/11 Museum. Last month we went to the United 93 Museum, and they had a copy of a book called The Life of Integrity that Todd Beamer was reading in his Bible study. And I knew I had to give this invocation, so I read the book and tried to pull out some things that might be helpful for Hannah, John, Carlos, Mackenzie, and Colin, especially our scholar winners. But Joan and Barb have been living this already. So it's especially for them, but it's for everybody. God, we pray that as we go forward, we go forth in integrity. May we all have more integrity. May our beliefs determine our behavior. Let us have the courage to say no. Allow us to have the courage to face the truth. Help us do the right thing because it is right, and do the right thing even when no one is watching. Because character and integrity, and really making an impact on someone's life, that's the ultimate goal. That's the bottom line. And our society is so obsessed with image, what people think we are. May we all work instead on integrity, what we really are. Let us have conviction, commitment, and character. God, help us to practice our values rather than just profess them. Help us choose courage over comfort, because the choices we make today influence eternity. And as always, God, thank you for being with us in the past, and for being with us tonight, and walking with us in all our futures. I'd like to introduce Jenna for the pledge.
Favorite thing to say as a teacher. Can you please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag
introducing this evening's Master of Ceremony. Tonight you will have the opportunity to be educated, enlightened, and for those of you that know him, I'm sure you'll be entertained by my bus buddy. Oprah Winfrey once said, "Lots of people want to ride with you in the limo, but what you really want is someone who will take the bus with you when the limo breaks down." Life is filled with people ready to ride the limo with you, but it's the friendship of the person that hops on the bus when the limo breaks down that lasts a lifetime. I truly believe no friendship is an accident. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you our Master of Ceremony, my bus buddy, and my best friend, Wayne Smith.
Thank you, everybody. I'm the Region Treasurer, and I'm not sure if you know anything about the Region Treasurer, but the Region Treasurer, all I do is write checks and books. They don't let me talk anytime we're here. So tonight, I have about 34 pages that we're going to talk about. So settle in. I ask you to speak quickly, and we'll be out of here by 11. Okay. No, this is truly this is a great night. This is our 3rd annual scholarship banquet and awards ceremony, and started a couple years ago with Brian's idea that, hey, what's a way we can give back to our members? We always ask from our members, but how can we give back? And he came up with this idea, and this is an idea that's pretty top notch, and I'm just proud to be a part of it, as I am to be a part of their officer team. But Brian comes up with all the ideas. Seriously, the man sleeps 24 and breathes 24/7 union stuff. So every year we have themes. Well, our kickoff dinner theme this year was making a world of difference for our members and our school children. And if I remember correctly, it was the United Way was our big partner for that. And once again, it's a great way we can give back. A few weeks ago, we had our leadership conference. And our theme for that was embracing your inner hero, and how can we all do things better, and what are the things we're doing already that we should be recognizing. But you know what, out of all these events that we do every year, by far this is my favorite. When we can honor 4 young people that are starting the world, that our future is incredible. And not only are we going to honor 4 young people, but we're going to honor 4 a little bit old, or 2 a little bit older people. My wife told me, and maybe that's why one of the reasons I'm still married, and one of our rules is we don't talk weight, we don't talk age. Okay, so everybody looks, you girls look beautiful, and we're proud to honor you guys tonight. But we do have a couple guests tonight. We already introduced our officer team. In the back here, I have Adam Searfoss. He's our Berks County president. I have Rosalie Davis. She's our Northampton County president. I have our region field director, Terry Burnett. I have Barry DeWitt, a UNISERV. John Tierney, Terry Petro, UNISERV, and Mark Lynn, UNISERV. And then I have our region advocacy coordinator, Tiffany Dollar. They are window dressing, because the true people that run this union, where's Debbie? I see Joanne. Debbie's working out at the front desk, and Debbie. They are our staff, and I'll be honest with you, we would be nothing without them. And they are our lifeline. We have some.
She just walked in.
Here's Debbie. She's always making an entrance. She knew this. This is all for her. You know, but seriously, when we can get together on a night like tonight, we can honor Hannah and John Carlos and Mackenzie and Colin, and then throw in Joan and Barb. You know, it's pretty good. Now, I know you young people probably have things to do later, okay? So I promise, my part will be quick, okay? As the MC, I will try that. The guy you have to worry about is the guy sitting back there named Terry Burnett. Wait, he's our keynote speaker. And last I knew, he had 40 minutes that he was gonna talk to us about.
35.
Okay, so cut it down. No, hey, folks, enjoy yourself. We're gonna have our meal and we'll continue the program. But one thing I do need to do is, how about we give a big round of applause for the Reading High Castleers? All right, folks, we're going to get going. I hope you enjoy dinner. Please enjoy your dessert. If you need a coffee or an iced tea or lemonade or any other beverage, please feel free to get it up and get it. I'm not sure. I kind of feel like, especially at this time of year, like Roger Goodell. Does anybody know who Roger Goodell is? Okay, Roger Goodell is the commissioner of the NFL, and if anybody knows anything about the NFL right now, it's draft time. So, I have my phone here. Okay? I'm a draft nut. I love the draft. And the St. Louis Cardinals have the first pick in the second round. And I'm going to let you know, they traded their first pick in the second round to the New York Giants for Saquon Barkley and the whereabouts of Jimmy Hoffa. I'm saying that for Brian's a Giant fan. So say a little extra prayer for him tonight. But seriously, if anybody does want an update, text me or whatever, I'll let you know what's going on. One person, we had one of our distinguished guests come in tonight from our visiting region of the Northeast region, and I would like to introduce and just recognize quick Jennifer Aguilino. She's the Vice President from the Northeast region. Back to the draft real quick. If you hear me or see me pumping fists or slapping the table, it means the Eagles didn't do well. So, but I will let you know. At this time, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker. I know this man for quite a few years. Terry came to the Eastern region. How long ago, Terry?
11, almost 12 years ago.
Almost 12 years ago as a UNICEF rep. And we were very lucky up in Schuylkill County to have him as our UNICEF rep. And he did a lot of good work for our schools in Schuylkill County, so we thank him for that. And at this time, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, our Region Field Director, Terry Burnett.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the officers for putting on this event. Thank you to the staff and the leaders who worked very hard to make sure that tonight went off without any issues. Thank you all for all the hard work that you've done, reading the essays, mailing out all the mailings to coordinate this. All of your hard work for tonight. We really appreciate everything you've done. I must say, I'm feeling a lot of pressure. Wayne told me that I'm the only thing standing in between us and getting out of here on time. Jenna has a comfortable outfit picked out that she wants her to change into. But more importantly than any of that, they changed the agenda so that we could proceed a little bit more quickly. My dessert's back there unattended.
Next to me, Terry.
So, but seriously, we are here tonight because of 4 students, and I've been asked to speak about them, and I was part of the team that scored the essays and reviewed the applications. So to Colin, Hannah, John Carlos, and Kinsey, you all did a fabulous job. So we're going to recognize these students because of their hard work, their determination, their civic engagement, and because they understand the importance of one concept. They all wrote essays And their essays were asked to follow the prompt, what does public education mean to you, to your family, and to your future? To future generations. I was asked to read the essays, and I can honestly say that I was blown away, not only by these four, but by all of the essays that were written. And while I was reading the essays, I found myself asking, why is this important to me? And it was a question that was very difficult for me to answer. Part of the difficulty that I had is I was looking at it from so many different lenses. I was looking at it as a former teacher. I was looking at it as a parent. I was looking at it as a taxpayer. I was looking at it as a teacher advocate. I was looking at it as a negotiator. So it was hard for me to figure out, well, why is this important? Because for each of those different contexts, I found a different reason why it was important to me. When I think about it as an employee of PSEA, I think about the staff as the best asset that we have. And I think about the teachers and the guidance counselors, the custodians, the maintenance people, the nurses, the school psychologists, and I think about all the value that they bring to education. And it draws me to say that that is the best resource. That is what makes public schools great, and that is why public education is so important. But then as I start to think about it as a taxpayer, that's a whole different lens. And I start thinking about the systems that are in place, and I start thinking about, well, why is this system important? Well, the system is important because this system doesn't discriminate. This system doesn't say that, you know what, you're not quite cut out for us. We like you, but you would probably fit in somewhere else. This system takes every student where they are, for who they are, and they do the best job that they can so that this student is successful. So as a taxpayer, that's why I think this is great. When the students began to answer this question, I was blown away by some of the comments that they had. And when I read things like, I was greeted when one writer was talking about the culture exchange, and what she said is, when I transitioned into an urban high school, I was greeted with open arms and boundless acceptance and a glimpse into a life that I would not otherwise have lived. In fact, it prepared me to socialize in an ever-diversifying society that is today's world. Our public schools educate and prepare all students. Another student told a story about his Portuguese immigrant grandparents. And what he tells us is how his grandfather valued the American education system because in Portugal, they were only educated up until the 8th grade. Our system educates the whole child all the way through and prepares them to go on and be successful in life. Another writer penned these words: good ideas do not discriminate. Good ideas do not care about the color of your skin or how much money you've grown up with. Our public schools don't discriminate against the student. Our public schools educate and prepare children to be successful. Another student shared his experience of how, through sports, he had the opportunity to meet kids that he would not have ever crossed paths with. They had different lives, different experiences, but they were both boys growing through adolescence. Their friendship, through this friendship, one student was able to help another student to find success where otherwise he would not have. This is something that makes our public schools great. This is something that makes our public schools different. Our public schools make it their priority to educate everyone, no matter where you come from. Once you walk into those doors, you are a student. I recently had a teacher who was experiencing some issues at work, and she called me. Early in the conversation, I had an idea of where I thought this conversation was going. This student is too difficult. The district is not taking a firm stance, and this student needs to be removed. That's not what this teacher said to me. What this teacher said to me is, we're not doing enough. We're not serving this student. This student's needs are not being met. We need to force this school district to make sure that we're meeting the needs of this child. Right now, we're not. So after reading these essays, I found that that common theme was the fact that all of the students, not just these 4, but all the students who even apply for the scholarship, they all talked about the diversity that exists in the school districts that they belong to, how that has enriched their lives, and how that has helped them to be successful. So there's an intersection of passion, dedication, and knowledge that all of our public school employees have, and those are the things that makes these schools great. Those are the things that are propelling these students to do great things. The words that I read, those came directly from these students, and I thought some of those quotes were just so powerful. And I am truly excited about what each and every one of you will do as you move forward. So to you, I say congratulations. Barry, is my dessert still intact?
Still here, Terry. Just a couple bites.
Thank you all, and I wish you all much success.
Thank you, Terry. And at this time, we are going to recognize our 4 scholarship recipients. Like I said, this is one of the highlights of my year when I get to stand up here and see truthfully our future. It's a positive in a world of so many negatives that we can see people that are going to strive and carry on our legacies, and it's just an awesome event. In your programs, there's a write-up for each of the students in there that's on the left-hand side, and I'm not going to insult you by reading that to you. But we're going to start off with our Berks County recipient, and I'm going to ask Hannah to come up. Maybe some of you recognize Hannah. Hannah also and I would like to invite her presenter, Joseph Smith, to come up also.
Well, I don't have long to speak. I'm going to let Hannah speak. But thank you for inviting me today. We are thrilled to have Hannah at Reading High School, and I am her music teacher. I teach vocal music at Reading High School. Hannah has been on my group for the past 2 years, and she's done wonderful things. We're sad to see her go and graduate, but I know she's on to wonderful things. I think she's going to tell you about some of them. So here's Hannah Montfort.
I'm going to read the essay. Growing up, I remember loving school. I sat hands folded, floating in a sea of navy blue and green plaid. I listened as teachers would take on the role of preachers as they stood and proclaimed the truths of the Catholic faith. This felt like home for a while, with the promise of eternal life and boundless love dispensed by the token white-bearded man perched in the clouds. I remember vividly the dedication of poorly paid, overworked teachers who showed me that attitude and individual response are everything. But I found that Catholic school is its own society. It is completely separated from the world and its politics, wonders, and blasphemous thoughts. I thrived in Catholic elementary and middle school through my enthusiasm and desire to succeed alone. However, when I reached high school, the credulousness of religious education lost its effect. I began to develop my own thoughts and morals, and the path I was leading no longer paralleled with that of Catholic educations. So I decided to transfer schools halfway through my junior year. I went from a school of primarily white religious students to a public school with a population of almost entirely people of color. I would survey the classroom and automatically realize one of these things is not quite like the other. I would sit and glance over the students and realize I was the minority. I was immersed in the sounds of bachata and merengue. I could walk down the hallway and not understand the surrounding conversations. Kids here didn't have to wear uniforms. They could wear whatever they like. At first, I was taken aback by this culture shock, but my initial response wasn't a fear of disconnect. Rather, I was met with fascination. My story is unique at my inner city high school, but not because my experience is rare. No, my story is interesting because as a white person, I'm experiencing what many of my classmates will experience later in life. Whether it's college, the workforce, or other cities, my fellow classmates will walk around with this feeling, this racial disconnect. Stereotypes and racist profiles will precede my fellow classmates wherever they go. This is then followed up by the fact that they attended an inner-city high school and the stimuli that surrounds that. Prior to my time at Reading High School, the idea of being a racial minority never entered my head because that rarely happens to white people. Public inner-city schools, much like Catholic schools, are their own world. They each have their own subcultures, language barriers, and fronts that the public sees. However, that is where their similarity ends. Catholic schools are their own world based on what they refuse to accept, whereas public school is its own world based on what it is able to imagine. My experience in an inner-city high school, much to my Catholic school friends' surprise, was not big, bad, and scary. I was not met with hostility and bad influences. Rather, I was greeted with open arms, boundless acceptance, and a glimpse into a life I otherwise would have never lived. Being different, while it is frightening and uncomfortable, is not negative. In fact, it has better prepared me to work and socialize with the ever-diversifying society that is today's world. At Reading High School, I was surrounded by a group of diverse and unique students, and teachers who challenged me to become a better student. I was often pushed out of my comfort zone. In public school, I am free to be who I am and free to feel how I want. I have been provided with opportunities I was never previously offered. My time in public education is something I will never forget. It is highly due to the dedication of all members of the staff, faculty, my fellow classmates, and the attitudes instilled in me by everyone involved.
Thank you, Hannah. Like I said, this is our future. From what I'm seeing here tonight, our future is bright. That's a nice thing to see. Our next winner, or recipient, is from the Lehigh County. And I'm going to ask John Carlos to come up and get us in. I asked Brian to come up and help me because I'm old, and this is the first time this has ever happened. We're going to use technology here for John Carlos.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kimberly Elliott. I'm the American Sign Language teacher at Reading High School. I was invited to tonight's banquet by a student of mine, and unfortunately I can't be there, so I decided to make this video instead. John Carlos Sosa is a current student of mine, and a wonderful student at that. He puts 100% of everything he has into everything he does. He speaks with enthusiasm and passion, and he is an absolute joy to have in class. He is very smart, and he is always willing and ready to lend a helping hand. His work ethic is incredible. He is an active member of the American Sign Language Club. I am very proud of him, and I am honored to present this award on his behalf. JC, congratulations on winning the scholarship. And I am so proud of you, and I really wish that I could have been there tonight. I'm very sorry that I'm not there, but I promise to celebrate you on Monday morning when I see you. Congratulations.
Sorry, give me a moment as I get my speech ready here.
Wayne can help you with the technology.
All right, so I'm not one for super long speeches, so I'm going to try to keep this relatively short. I want to say good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. I wanted to express my gratitude and my thankfulness towards the PSEA for this opportunity and for giving me that helping hand to pursue my future in education. My plan right now is to attend Raven College, where I will be majoring in secondary math education, and from there go on to teach in the high school setting. I'm also currently a martial arts teacher at Prime Martial Arts over in Bethlehem. And I can plan on continuing that as well. I also plan on continuing my education. So when I was little, I was probably about 10 years old, I taught for the first time. I became a teacher. My martial arts instructor was absent, so I went in and I taught the class. That moment made me feel weird and intrigued at the same time. And I couldn't really explain, but that was the moment where I really sparked a passion in me for education. And my mom was also a teacher, so I kind of saw the other half of teaching, everything that is done outside of school, the lesson plans, the paperwork, and all of that. But I don't know, it was just something that, so I started, doing a little more research, doing a little more looking, asking some questions, and learning more. And by the time I was in 6th grade, I had made my decision. I'm going to major in education. This is for me. And then I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, what kind of education? I mean, there's elementary, there's middle school, there's high school, there's college, and being a person who also enjoyed puzzles as a kid, I really enjoyed math, the analytics of it, the problem solving was just interesting to see how you can work towards a solution from 20 different angles. So I, again, did a little more looking into it and thought, hey, maybe I could teach high school math. So I'm going through and I'm starting to take these classes that are going to help prepare me for this career. And more and more the classes get more difficult, they get more interesting, and I get to high school and I'm like, wow, this is it. So now it's time to really start preparing, really start learning. And over my high school career, I've talked with my math teachers, I've talked with other teachers, and I've learned so much about what it means to be a teacher, what it means to provide service to students and put your students first. And it was just fascinating, but I didn't want to stop there. So I started looking at, okay, well, I had an opportunity to take a college class up at community college. I went, I took the class, and that just blew my mind. How now it's not just looking at how to solve the problem, but how to make the problems and then solve them again and again and again in 20 million different ways. So my final goal is to eventually work my way up to that collegiate level. Most people go into education for the summers off. Personally, I think that's an awesome perk, and I would love to have summers off. But I'm more in for it for the passion of teaching, to share my knowledge with others and kind of help build the next generation.
I think he's going to be an excellent teacher. He said, 34 years I'm finishing, and I feel weird and intrigued every day. As a teacher. And another thing, you hit the nail on the head, the summer perk, it doesn't get any better than that. So, but no, that's fantastic. And now we have our Northampton County recipient, and I'm going to ask Mackenzie to come up, along with her presenter, Rosalie Davis.
Well, I'm kind of a stand-in because the teacher who she had requested and wanted to be here, John Iyer, his wife recently gave birth to her 4th child, I believe it is, and he's coaching did not allow him to be here. So when I spoke with him yesterday at a meeting saying, what would you like me to say about this wonderful young lady? And you'd be sitting here for an hour if I kept going over everything. He had nothing but absolutely positive things to say about Mackenzie. It's interesting for me being close with Wayne here, a 31-year veteran teacher, and I can say I did not have either of these recipients as one of my students, and I'm almost feeling at a loss that I didn't get to have them when they were young and little in Bethlehem School District. But I'm told Mackenzie has been an outstanding student, a wonderful role model for everyone within her class. She's very active within her high school as it is, so I'm going to shut up now and let Mackenzie come up and let her speak.
So I'm going to be reading my essay, but first I want to thank PSEA for this opportunity and this award. So public education is very important to me because I believe in the future. I believe that in the future we will find a way to cure cancer, make cleaner fuel, and stop global warming. However, the people that will solve these problems need to learn about them first. We need to ensure that children everywhere become thinkers. How can a child know if he or she is interested in science until they take a class at school? How can a child know that the world is almost out of fossil fuels until they are taught so? How can a child know that global warming is causing a hole in the ozone layer over Antarctica, causing 1,000-year-old glaciers to melt until they learn about it? Public education is crucial for so many reasons. We need to ensure that an educated populace when it comes to political, social, and environmental issues. Educating children provides the foundations for our citizens. Knowledge is power. Therefore, all students should have an equal opportunity and access to good teachers and resources so they are able to thrive. Here's the thing. Good ideas don't discriminate. Good ideas don't care about the color of your skin or how much money you had growing up. If you have enough knowledge, you can have those amazing ideas. As someone who went through the public education system, I learned valuable lessons that make me a more informed citizen. I also learned how to be a critical thinker about ideas presented to me. You shouldn't have to go to an expensive private school to get the knowledge you need to be informed. Everyone, regardless of his or her parents' income and ability to pay a private school tuition, should have access to a free and great education. Public education is crucial to the continued success of our country. I go to public school and have been in the same district, Bethlehem Area School District, since kindergarten. One thing that I've always been interested in is science. It was my favorite class, even when it was just bi-weekly in elementary school. In middle school, my interest grew. Now that I have science every day, I try to absorb everything my teachers tell me. I watch documentaries in my free time and study more than I need to for fun and to quench my thirst for knowledge. When I was in 8th grade, we picked our classes for freshman year. We were offered a brand new Project Lead the Way career pathway, one with a medical focus. I decided to take the first module, Principles of Biomedical Science, and that turned out to be one of the greatest decisions to date. When I began the first module my freshman year, I had some serious doubts. The class was so much work, and I had to work so hard to stay on top of it all. There were many upperclassmen in the beginning, but those students eventually graduated out. Only 11 students, including myself, became the first group to go through the entire program. In those 4 years, we got to know each other very well. We also learned so much about the medical field. We've learned how to suture, take a patient's history, culture bacteria, and many more things. The Project Lead the Way classes also helped me figure out what I wanted to do for my future career. We learned about jobs in the medical and science fields. We learned a lot about different careers, but an otolaryngologist, an ear, nose, and throat doctor, stood out to me. As I investigated further, I realized that's what I wanted to do. I was fascinated by the things involved with becoming an ENT, such as putting tubes in ears or taking tonsils out. Not many people are fortunate enough to say that their high school exposed them to many skills they would implement in their future career. A lot of people aren't given the opportunities I was, and I'm grateful that I learned professional techniques and made valuable connections with hospitals and their personnel. This opportunity, provided by my public high school, was invaluable in choosing my next path in life. I'm a believer in creating opportunities that allow children to become critical thinkers in hands-on, real-life activities. For those reasons, I will be forever grateful for my public school education and the opportunities that it has provided me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mackenzie. That's amazing. I mean, like I said, our last recipient tonight is a young man from Schuylkill County, and I'll make the announcement. I'm going to see him again next Thursday at our Schuylkill County Scholarship because he is also a winner of our Schuylkill County Scholarship. So at this time, I would like to introduce Dan Nestor and Colin Begley from Schuylkill County.
Before I start my speech about Colin, we're talking about public school teachers, and I just think it's kind of ironic. Colin's mom was my freshman biology teacher and my chemistry teacher, and ironically now I'm her son's AP literature teacher. So this kind of coming full circle for public education. But I'm sorry now. Okay. I initially would like to say it's an honor and to have been invited to such a momentous occasion, and it's a privilege to speak on behalf of Colin Begley. I've had the pleasure of knowing Colin since his childhood. I have come to know the unique individual he is during his high school years and currently as his AP literature teacher. He has attended the Mon Area School District since kindergarten and has consistently made his parents, teachers, and community proud. He values his family, friends, neighbors, and teachers. Colin is an exceptional representative of our school, and he serves as an exemplary role model for our younger students. Colin's friendly, compassionate, and determined personality allows him to achieve his goals. He displays his academic capability profoundly in his studies, and it is Colin's pride and devotion to learning which currently ranks him as #1 in his class. Colin has challenged himself by taking a rigorous high school curriculum which currently includes AP Chemistry, AP Literature, AP Biology, and AP Calculus. Additionally, Colin reveals he is a leader through his participation in several school and community activities. He serves on the Schuylkill County Drug and Alcohol Board as a representative of our school district, and he is a member of our student council. He also demonstrates his scholarship, leadership, service, and character as a member of the National Honor Society. He represents our school at the Schuylkill County Youth Leadership Summit, and Colin was also selected as a September Elk Student of the Month. He's not only involved in the school setting, but he is an active volunteer in our community. Colin is a member of our local church's Action Youth Group, in which he recently played an integral role in its Stations of the Cross ceremony. Colin's academics and involvement prove he is diligently responsible of handling the many tasks presented before him. Beyond Colin's involvement in academics, one of his most distinguishing qualities is his athleticism. He is undeniably a scholar and an athlete. Colin certainly has proven himself to be quite an intimidating opponent in the sport of wrestling. He served as wrestling captain this past season, and he has devoted countless hours towards his passion of the sport. His determination to improve himself and become a better wrestler has only made him more capable of greatness on the mat. Colin defeated many worthy opponents and achieved the District 11 champion title in wrestling during both his junior and senior years. He qualified for states during his sophomore and junior years of high school, and this year too. This past March, Colin was claimed the 2019 PIAA state third place medal at 195 pounds during the state championship in Hershey. The love of wrestling will most definitely follow Colin through life. Surely he will attain accolades as he furthers his wrestling career during his college years. Although Colin proves he is a scholar, athlete, and compassionate individual, I would like to share a quick story I believe reveals a better picture of the individual he is. This past January, Colin and his classmates were given the task of writing a realistic fiction story, which was a story that was not true, but could actually occur. Colin submitted a narrative in which he imagined himself placing at states for wrestling, and it was an exceptional paper. Colin used sensory details, dialogue, literary devices, and the paper flowed well. I was enthralled when I read it, and I couldn't put it down. Imagine Colin on the mat at the Giant Center, the crowd's cheering, the adrenaline is running through his veins, and Colin is pointing over to his family in the crowd. Believe me, the suspense was intense. The story progresses, Colin wins his match, he's running to the parade of champions, the announcer calls his name, and a buzzer sounds off. The anticipation was killing me, the nerdy English teacher I am. Okay. What was going to happen next? My anticipation soon faded when, ironically, the buzzer I thought was signaling the end of the States was actually the school bell signaling the end of his AP English class. Colin was dreaming through his whole story. My point in telling you about Colin's fiction story is not to poke fun at him, but to demonstrate one of his most endearing qualities. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Colin certainly turned his dreams into reality. 3 months later, Colin's fiction story and dream came true. Colin did wrestle at the Giant Center, surrounded by his family and friends, where he earned a third place medal. Colin believed in himself and his dreams. One thing he most definitely taught me is the power of determination, the strength of family, and the positivity of believing in oneself. Colin is a mannerly, grateful, and well-deserving young man whose dreams will take him to George Mason University this fall. Colin plans to further his education in the field of nursing. Losing my place here? I know undoubtedly Colin will achieve the future he imagines for himself because he believes in the beauty of his dreams. It is with great pride and appreciation I introduce to you Mr. Colin Fegley.
I guess me and Mr. Nestor can both relax now because on the way here we're like, did I bring the right speech? Did I say the right thing? But she demonstrated that I can say my speech, so good thing. You say my favor, so now I know I can. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Every day that I wake up, I know that I am privileged to receive a public education. Public education has placed me in a more favorable position to pursue my goals and dreams. It has not only positively affected me, but it has profoundly impacted many members of my family who have decided to give back and pay it forward by becoming public educators. I've also been blessed to witness public education afford fellow students with life-altering opportunities. Since I was a young boy, my parents and siblings have always encouraged me to do the best, to be the best possible version of myself. Public education has played a critical role in leading me down the path of self-improvement and empowerment. First, it has served as my primary resource in acquiring knowledge that has shaped my future plans and career choice. Public school cultivated my intense interest in health, anatomy, and biology through the offered courses, which propelled me to pursue a career in nursing. It has also provided a curriculum with high standards that has assisted me in getting accepted to my dream school, George Mason University. Monterey area and its caring, well-rounded staff has encouraged me daily at every turn to set lofty goals and to reach higher than I thought possible. Every single teacher has helped me in some way to become who I am today and has encouraged me to reach higher. Public education has had an undeniable positive influence on all the members of my family as well. Currently within my family, I have several, more than several, relatives who are teachers at public schools. My mother, eldest brother, uncle, 3 cousins, and more. All proudly are helping to develop and shape the youth and future leaders of our world. On countless occasions, I have witnessed the positive impacts my relatives have presented to students. This positive impact occurred not only in the classroom, but also while coaching sports, volunteering for countless activities, or simply being there for when students needed them. They have never hesitated to go out of their way to help students overcome personal issues or setbacks. I am convinced that my family members have made a lasting impression on innumerable students over multiple generations through their careers in public education. In addition, public education has played a key role in assisting other members of my family who are taking other challenging and rewarding careers, including a doctor, judge, physician assistant, and organic chemist. But my favorite and most personal story to public education is not one about myself, but someone I care very dearly about. I got to witness my best friend Cesar, who I had the pleasure of meeting through wrestling at my area. He moved in when I think he was in 7th grade. He's 2 years behind me, but Cesar comes from a rough home life, and he struggles financially, but he doesn't lack a very pure heart and good soul. I think that with that being said, I think the most beautiful attribute of public education is that it provides equal opportunity to everyone. There's no limits, and no bounds on where public education goes. Everyone is blessed with the opportunity. So over the course of a year, I spent a lot of time with Cesar every day, during which, I skipped a sentence. When I first met Cesar, he was consistently failing at least 2 subjects. And it wasn't because of lack of teaching, it was just he didn't really know the effort he had to put forth. Over the course of the year, I spent time with Cesar every day, during which I, along with his teachers, were able to help him study and become more focused on his education. I believe I helped him in a small way understand the value, importance, and opportunity of his public education. Now I'm beyond proud to say that Cesar is a B+ student and getting grades in the 90s, along with his new academic achievement. He now also has plans to attend college. Without public education, someone like my best friend Cesar would never have been given the opportunity to flourish and pursue higher goals in education. Thank you.
Just real quickly, first of all, I'd like to recognize again Hannah, John Carlos, Mackenzie, and Colin, the after the ceremony, if we could get all the recipients to stand out next to that PSEA board that we have out there for some photos, we'd love to take a few minutes and get you on your way. But there's one thing, every one of you guys are going on to college. You're all going to be different careers, and it's very impressive. There's something I just want you to know, and it goes a little story like this, so if you'll just indulge me. Doctor, a lawyer, a little boy, and a priest decided to go one Sunday afternoon for a small plane ride. They're leaving Joe Zerby Airport in Schuylkill County. God bless them just for that. Okay. All of a sudden, the plane develops some engine trouble. In spite of the best efforts by the pilot, the plane starts to go down. The pilot grabs a parachute, and he yells to the other passengers that they better jump. And he himself, the pilot, jumps out. The bad thing is, we have the doctor, the lawyer, the little boy, and the priest there. There's only 3 parachutes. So the doctor quick grabs one and says, I'm a doctor, I save lives, so I must live. And he jumps out. The lawyer then says, I'm a lawyer, and lawyers are the smartest people in the world. I deserve to live. He also grabbed a parachute and jumps out. That leaves the priest and the little boy. The priest looked at the little boy and said, my son, I've lived a long and a full life. You are young and have your whole life ahead of you. Take the last parachute and live in peace. The little boy handed the parachute back to the priest and said, don't worry, Father. The smartest man in the world just took off with my backpack. The moral of this story is, remember this, your job doesn't define you. Being a good human being does. And what that's doing right now is it's leading me into this segue where we're going to honor our 2 recipients that were coming up. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Brian to come up and talk a little bit about these awards that we're giving out right now.
Thank you very much. So, one of the things we decided to do when we put this thing together is to make sure that we honor our school children, you're still children to us, but our students, but also people who've made a lot difference in the lives of these students and a difference in the life of our union. Like Lori said at the very beginning, union is family. It's been our mantra for the past 4 years, and it'll continue as long as people on this table are still up here. And I'm happy to introduce 2 of my family members. The first family member I'm going to introduce is somebody who took me under her wing when I was a wee little 26-year-old, at his first RA in Dallas. I don't know anybody or anything. I just thought it'd be cool to go to Dallas, so I filled out the paperwork. Next thing you know, I'm in a room full of 10,000 other people, and I don't know a single one of them. And this wonderful human being reached out to me and made sure that I was not alone. There was also a time where I was going through some things locally, and I thought about potentially running for local president. And I remember sitting on the steps of Gettysburg and talking to her saying, I don't know if I should do this or not. And I remember, just like it was yesterday, she says you need to do it out of a sense of desire, not just duty. And that stuck with me. And I've always had that desire because of the support of people like Joan Kozlowski. And to talk to you more about her is her daughter, Alana.
Got me choked up. When I was told I was going to be presenting this award, a flood of emotions came over me. Immensely elated and so proud of my mom. Totally honored that I was asked to present. And then disgustingly nauseous because I knew I had to follow Brian, one of the most eloquent speakers I've ever heard. So, here goes. My mom has been the biggest influence in my life when it comes to education. Ever since I was little, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. My mom's passion for education has been my guiding force in reaching my goal of becoming a teacher. People change their minds about what they want to be many times in their lives. I never once doubted that I wanted to be an educator, and my mom never once deterred me from it. As the years went by, I watched my mom work 2, sometimes 3 jobs to make ends meet. I also watched her change lives. She was the epitome of what has now become my mantra: in it for the outcome, not the income. I've been in the education field as a paraprofessional for 14 years. Although proud of me, my mom wants me to have my own classroom. I do too. She never gave up on me. She continued to push me even when I didn't listen. I graduated high school in 1990. Wait. And went on to a local college for 3 semesters. Realizing I was way too immature, I left. The dream of being an educator never left me though. Years went by. My mom never stopped encouraging me, nagging, encouraging, to pursue my college education. In 2003, I enrolled in community college and earned my associate's degree in special ed. Again, I didn't fully commit, but also my mom kept pushing me on. I did get a job as a paraprofessional in 2005. I worked in the same district as my mom, where I was able to watch her share her love for reading and her knowledge for reading with her students. She retired 2 years after I started with the district, still pushing me to get my degree. I'm happy to say that I got my act together, started listening to my mom, enrolled in an online university, and will be student teaching in the fall. If my mom had given up on me and didn't continue to push me, my dream would not be happening. I just recently became an ACE. For those of you who don't know, it's an advocate for children in education. My mom was right beside me as I was completing the training, something that she did years ago. As we were getting into the car after it was over, I said to her, "Thanks, Mom, for making me an ACE." And she gave a little laugh, but she didn't really acknowledge the comment. And I didn't give much thought to the words until I was preparing for tonight. Thank you, Mom, for making me an ACE. I strive to be the best, just like you. Even if it takes me a little longer to accomplish it. You are the perfect candidate for this award.
You're not gonna say anything.
I'll wait till you sit down.
I wasn't gonna say anything. Lori said I only had to say
thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. My friends have, when you get as old as we are, not most of you, me, my friends will say, Joan, learn to say no. I don't know how to say no. And what I told Brian years ago is true. If you have the desire to continue on, that's what you do. My family's here, my friends are here. These people, these three people, are what keep me going because they are members of the board of directors of the Gabriel Chamber Ensemble, of which I'm the administrator of the Gabriel Youth Orchestra. And we are celebrating our 10th year next year, which I can't believe. So, yes, I'm very happy. And also, not being able to say no. I'm going in again 30 years later as president of our Literacy Council because it was ready to fold. And I cannot, in good faith, being a librarian, let it fold. And my daughter does make me extremely happy because she is finally going to be where I was almost 50 years ago. Thank you, thank you.
Just a quick story too. Now, I was never wee and little like Brian, but Joan was our county president. I'm not sure how long ago when I was a wet behind the ears person that came.
12 years.
12 years ago, is that how long it was? When I first got involved on the county level, and like we said, she's afraid I'm gonna roast her, and I won't do that to you tonight, but watch out Thursday. Just giving you warning. She's always been a role model, and seriously, her actions, and the truth is, she can't say no. She can't say no, and she's always there for me to lend suggestions, and I know for Lane, who's our secretary, and Scott, and things like that, she's always there. She attends, between her and Woody, attending all of our county meetings, usually they're both there, but there's always one representative, and their experience and their knowledge is invaluable, and I am blessed, and I am thankful for what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah. And now I'm going to ask Brian to come back up and discuss our Presidential Legacy Award.
Thank you again, Joe, for all you do for our children. You truly are a champion for children. And this next award is something I really like because I get to pick it myself. And it is the Presidential Legacy Award. And it is somebody who has made an impact for this region, but has done so in a way that is modest, that is selfless, and altruistic. The woman I've loved the most in my life was my grandmother, my nanny, Christine Ottaviano Sanguinito. My wife always tells me I don't speak with an Italian accent unless I say Italian words, and all of a sudden it comes out. But Christine Ottaviano Sanguinito was the most beautiful woman I've ever known. She was selfless, she was caring, she gave of herself, but she was always humble. She never asked for anything in return. She just always gave and gave and gave of herself. And when we were talking about who we were going to choose for the Presidential Legacy Award, one person immediately came to mind who reminded me of my nanny, a person who constantly gives of herself and is so modest and so humble. And I need to tell you, and I hope I don't embarrass you, my friend, when I called her up on the phone to let her know that she had received this award, she may have said, "Oh my God," about 27 times. and I was literally almost in tears when I hung up because I was so happy to bring a little bit of joy to somebody who has brought so much joy to so many others. So it is my true honor and pleasure to introduce Barbara Bigler and John McKiernan.
My name is John McKiernan, and I'm the UNICEF rep in the Eastern Region office. And I've had the pleasure of working closely with Barb Bigler for the last 12 years, who is our Presidential Legacy Award recipient. So, a month or two ago, I had finished a very contentious bargaining session. It was a really long week. I was driving home and I just pulled in my driveway. And right then my phone rang. And I thought to myself, oh no. And I thought, just let it go to voicemail. And I looked out at the phone and I saw on the phone it said Barb Bigler. And when Barb Bigler calls, I always answer the phone. So I answered and I thought to myself, I wonder what's going on at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night that Barb needs to call me. So it was good news because it wasn't a work problem or something that we had to discuss, but she wanted to let me know that she was the recipient of the PSEA Eastern Region Presidential Legacy Award. I was very happy to hear that news because I assure you, there is no one who could ever be more deserving of this award than Barb. But then the news got even better because she asked me if I would be willing to be the one to introduce her and give a speech on her behalf, which honestly at the end of that week really touched me and was something that I needed because it reminded me why I really like my job. And it's because of people like Barb. So I'm going to take you back just a few years. September 22nd, 1978. It was a Friday. Jimmy Carter was our president. The #1 song in the United States was Boogie Oogie Boogie by Taste of Honey, which, believe it or not, I had on a K-Tel vinyl album. That was the day that Barb Bigler became a PSEA member and a member of the Boyertown Area Education Association. And just to put this in perspective, she didn't do that until she finished raising her 4 children and started teaching when she decided it was time for her to go on, and she was in her mid-30s. So at that time, I assure you, the Boyertown School District had no idea what they were getting. But I'm going to tell you what they got. They got a teacher who for the last 41 years, and still counting, because we're still going, would be a caring, dedicated, beloved teacher by over 1,000 elementary students. Someone who's synonymous with Boyertown Area School District. I challenge anyone in this room to go to Boyertown and find an individual who does not know Mrs. Bigler, because you can't. So, but she's more than that. She's more than a teacher to those students. She's given more to the students and parents in Boyertown than anyone could ever measure. I see a lot of great teachers every day, but I've only ever seen one Barb Bigler. So, in addition to being a wonderful teacher, she's also been a wonderful union leader for more years than I can figure out. Because if I ask her, she won't tell me, and there's nobody in the local around anymore long enough. So, in that amount of time, whatever it may be, she shepherded the teachers in Boyertown through good and bad times, and always done what was right and just for her members. Nothing gets done in the Boyertown School District without Barb's blessing. In my 12 years, Barb and I have gone through 5 superintendents. We've turned over so many administrators, we can't even figure it out. But every one of them knew that if they wanted something to happen in Boyertown, they needed to talk to Barb and make sure she was on board first. They would call her, the board would call her, her principals would call her, they stop at her room, they come over, they come to her room to apologize the morning after they do something at a board meeting that they know is going to make her upset. She's also the only person I've ever seen scold Jeffrey Sultanic, who is the solicitor and hard-nosed negotiator of the school district, like a 10-year-old boy. And when she's done, he apologizes. So, I'm not sure how familiar you are with what the job of a uniserv entails, but we're assigned to locals, and we work with local unions and school districts, and that makes up our cluster. So Boyertown has been in my cluster since I was hired in 2007. When I first came to PSEA, I was hired as a temporary employee. And Boyertown was one of the locals I was assigned to. And I called Barb, and I said, oh, why don't I come down for lunch? So I was going down for lunch, and I said, what would you like me to get? And she said, hoagies from Dave's Deli. So it's right down the street from her school. So Barb and I have had hoagies many, many times from Dave's Deli over the years. But when I walked into Dan's Deli. When I walked into Dan's Deli, I put the order in, and he said, is this from Mrs. Bigler? And I was like, yeah. So I got to school, and we sat in her room and talked. And when we finished talking, she made sure that I knew everything that she thought I needed to know about the Boyertown School District. So when we were done, she said, so are you interviewing for this position? And I said, I am. And she asked me a couple of questions about it. And she was going to be an active participant in the interview process. And she, when we're walking out, looks at me and says, I like you. You don't need to worry about this. I'm going to take care of you. And I'm not going to lie, for a second it felt like Goodfellas. But the truth is, she did take care of me. And we've made a great team ever since. So, like clockwork, every April, I get a phone call from Barb, and it goes like this. I go, hello? And she's like, John, how are you? I'm like, I'm good, how are you? And she goes, I'm all right, but I don't think I can retire this year. The board's gonna try to pull that stuff. I need to be here to stop them. And I go, okay. And then, I also get another call from her. This is my favorite. It always starts with, John, I'm going to need your help to get me out of trouble because I'm blank. But the truth is, we always work through things together. We always have. She's never been in trouble. But there are a few stories I do need to share about Barb before I'm done because I have this opportunity, so I feel like I need to do it. I was lucky enough to be invited to Barb's 75th surprise birthday party a few years back, and it was fantastic. It was a great party. I enjoyed it very much, and what was really great was I got to see her interacting with her wonderful family, her children, her grandchildren, and her extended family, and I got to, see her outside our normal dealings. But, you know what I'm saying? Her present that day was an Elvis impersonator. So, as they put Barb in a chair up in front of Elvis, he started crooning to her and she rose from her chair. And let's just say, it was like when Elvis was on the Ed Sullivan Show. Their version of All Shook Up left me all shook up. My next story will probably be surprising to everyone except her family. Barb, one day at one of our lunches, tells me about how one of her favorite things to do was to go to the Hamburg Fieldhouse to watch WWF wrestling. And the one time, this wrestler was being such a jerk that she had to start yelling at him, and he threatened to hit her with a chair. I just eat my hoagie. And one other problem we've had that I'm still working to rectify, this is one of our big contentious issues with Barb and I. A few years ago, PSEA sent me on a trip to New Haven, Connecticut for a week in August. And they picked the week that we always have our Boyertown new teacher new teacher lunch. And I'd been to 11 out of 12. And the one I missed was because I was going to be away. So I asked my good friend, Mark Lynn, to cover the meeting. Unfortunately, when I came home, we had a county meeting, and I walk in to find Mark and Barb hugging. local and my favorite president. But we put that, we fixed that, at least I thought we did until tonight, but it looks like we're going to have to talk about it a little bit. And my last statement is just a little bit of advice to anyone in the audience that's thinking to themselves, how can I win a presidential legacy award in the future? And I wrote this, and after I wrote it, I read it a couple times, and I'm like, this sounds familiar. Like, why does it sound familiar to me? And then I realized it almost sounded like a Jeff Foxworthy, you may be a redneck if. So, I didn't write it that way. But if your daughter retires after a full 35-year career in the same school district you work in, and you are still teaching, and you are still the active union president, then you may be the presidential legacy. So, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the recipient of the Presidential Legacy Award in 2019, the Boyer County Area Education Association president, but more importantly, my good friend, Bart Bigler.
That was a neat party, wasn't it, John? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I didn't prepare anything tonight. When we came in, it was raining and I was waiting for my family to arrive. I'll jot down a few notes. I don't know why, I can't read them, I forgot my glasses. Anyway, I have to piggyback on what Brian said when he called me, because first of all, I thought he was kidding me. Well, no, first of all, I thought he was calling to ask me to do something. Then I thought, well, he's kidding me, because what do? I don't really look at myself as doing anything. I'm just an advocate for kids, and a strong advocate for teachers, and I will stick up for teachers through thick or thin, as long as they're behaving themselves. Sometimes yes and sometimes no. And I said, Brian, there are so many other people more deserving than me to receive this award. I'm still in a state of shock. And I didn't tell too many people about this. A couple people today I told at school, because they said, what are you doing this weekend? I said, oh, I'm going up, I'm getting some kind of award from PSEA. So I said, but it's at my favorite place, Bear Creek, and you know I love Bear Creek. So anyway, so with that, then I called my kids all. I actually have 8 kids, because I don't look at the spouses as in-laws. They're all my kids. And I called all of them to tell them. And yes, it's been a long time. My family has made a lot of sacrifices for me so that I could do this. And I know they got a little upset once in a while when I couldn't do whatever, they wanted to do. They've been telling me for years, Mom, it's time to get out. It's time to retire. I'll say, 1 more year. 1 more year. 1 more year. I started that 20 years ago. I promised my late husband that 20 years I'd be out of teaching, because then my kids would be out of school and so forth and so on. So I figured I'd be done. But that teaching bug, boy, there's just something about it when you see that light in a child's eyes brighten, that they finally have grasped something, and you think, wow, we got through this to this child. This child understands what's going on, and they look at you as though you're the greatest person in the whole wide world. There's nothing that can replace that look. in a child's eyes. And that's why I'm still doing this. Now, I'm going to be 80 in July.
Another party.
Elvis didn't survive the last one.
So, yeah, but it is hard. Every year I think, well, this is the year it's going to be that I'm going to go out. Can't go out this year. We're trying to settle a contract. I keep telling my kids I'll retire when the next contract is settled, because I won't let the teachers without a contract. Hey kids, how many contracts ago did I say that the last
Too many.
Too many. But I can't. I have to be there for the teachers, because it's the teachers who impact the kids. And if the teachers are happy, the kids are going to be happy. And that's what we need. We need a lot more young people to go into the teaching profession. So, this award I'm going to accept for all teachers, not just me. It's for all teachers who every day give their time, give their energy, their money too, because we all purchase things for these kids, and give them the care and the love that they need. Sometimes some kids more than others with the love and the care. And in order to support them to, as I'm stealing the Boyertown mission statement, in order to enable every child to succeed in a changing world. I thank you again for this honor. I'd like to congratulate Joan, dear soul, and all the scholarship winners, and thank you for this wonderful honor. I truly, truly appreciate it.
Barb, I'm sure you're not the only one that used to like to go to the Hamburg Fieldhouse to see wrestling. How many others have been?
I love it.
First
You
time?
know who was that was throwing a chair at me? Cowboy Bob Orton.
You know who one of my favorites was there where I used to go? Haystacks Calhoun.
Oh, yes.
You remember Haystacks Calhoun? That's right. I used to be there too to see what the Hamburg Fieldhouse. A lot of big time people there at that time when wrestling was real. I don't know how many times I said it, but I mean, seriously, I'm so proud of Brian for coming up with this idea 3 years ago. So glad to be a part of it. We're going to be out of here in like 5 minutes, and just one last time I'd like to ask that everybody please stand. Hannah, John Carlos, Mackenzie, Colin, Joan, Bart. I'm not much into poetry, okay, and I teach English, but poetry is, I'm Kurt Vonnegut and some of the other guys, but there is a poet out there that I like, and her name is Nancy Sims. And I'm not sure if anybody heard of her, but she's an inspirational poet. And once in a while when I do things with church and stuff like that, I go to her website to help find this stuff. And she has something here that we're going to use to close, and it's called A Creed to Live By. And it says this: don't undermine your worth by comparing yourself with others. It is because we are different that each one of us is special. Don't set your goals by what other people deem important. Only you know what is best for you. Don't take for granted the things closest to your heart. Cling to them as you would your life. for without them, life is meaningless. Don't let your life slip through your fingers by living in the past or for the future. By living your life one day at a time, you live all the days of your life. Don't give up when you still have something to give. Nothing is really over until the moment you stop trying. Don't be afraid to admit you are less than perfect. It is the fragile thread that binds us to each other. Don't be afraid to encounter risks. It is by taking chance that we learn how to be brave. Don't shut love out of your life by saying it's impossible to find. The quickest way to receive love is to give love. The fastest way to lose love is to hold it too tightly. And the best way to keep love is to give it wings. Don't dismiss your dreams. To be without dreams is to be without hope. And to be without hope is to be without purpose. And lastly, don't run through life so fast that you forget not only where you've been, but also where you're going. Life is not a race, but a journey to be savored each step of the way. I thank you all for coming tonight. I wish you safe trips home, and God bless.